It's Miss Samantha from PBC's Kids Ministry, and today we're going to read the story about Jesus walking on water. This story is from the book of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 22 through 23. It had been a very long day. Jesus and the disciples had been out teaching about God and performing miracles. Many people followed them, and Jesus spent the rest of the day teaching and feeding 5,000 people. When the day was over and the crowds were leaving, Jesus told the disciples to go find their boat and go back to the other side of the lake. When everyone had left, Jesus went up to the mountainside by himself to pray. Jesus knew that he had to go to the other side of the lake and join the disciples. I'm sure he could have swam, flew, or jumped across the lake. This is Jesus we're talking about. He could have done anything he wanted, but he decided that he could teach the disciples something, so he started to walk on the water towards their boat. So Jesus walked, and finally he was close enough to the disciples that he could see each of them on the boat. All of a sudden, one of the disciples said, "What is that?" He pointed out into the water, and all of the disciples turned around to see what was out there. "I think it's a ghost. What else could it be?" a few of the disciples said, terrified. Jesus could see and hear the confusion. He shook his head and called out, "It's all right. I am here. Do not be afraid." The disciples looked at each other and felt silly that they had thought their teacher was a ghost. Then Peter replied, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said with his hand reaching out to him. The disciples watched as Peter carefully got out of the boat and began to walk on water towards Jesus. Peter watched Jesus at first, but then started noticing the wind and the small waves on the water and looked around with worry. As soon as Peter started to be scared, he started to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him before he was totally covered with water. "You have such little trust for me, Peter," Jesus said. "Why did you doubt me?" Peter walked to the boat with Jesus by his side and wondered to himself why he got so afraid. He knew that Jesus could do anything. It seemed that as soon as he took his eyes off Jesus, he started to think about other things, and that is when he began to sink. As soon as Jesus got into the boat, the wind stopped and the water was calm. Then everyone in the boat worshiped Jesus, saying, "Truly, you are God's Son." So I have a picture for you, and this is a picture of Jesus right here, with his hand reaching out to Peter, telling Peter to come. And then here on the boat, or here on the waves, is a boat, and all in the boat are all of the disciples, and they all look kind of confused, right? And then right there is Peter, and that's Peter trusting Jesus and walking on the water towards Jesus. So the big takeaway from this story that we can use in our lives is that sometimes things scare us, especially when we're not in control of them, right? And sometimes we feel like Peter and we're scared because Peter wasn't in control when he saw the waves and he got scared of everything that was around him. But we need to trust Jesus and know that Jesus is the one who's in control. Jesus calls us to focus on him, just like he did with Peter when Peter was walking on the water, and trust that he will take care of us even when things get really hard. Thanks, guys.